Hi, this tutorial covers response bias. So let's just make sure we have a good working definition of what bias is first. So recall that bias is the tendency for collected data to differ from what is expected in some systematic way. Biased data can often favor a specific group of those studied. Bias jeopardizes the accuracy of the data collected. Studies can be carried out and evaluated better if the different types of bias can be recognized. Okay, so again, we're going to focus on response bias. So response bias is a type of bias that occurs when the response given by someone to a question in a study is not an answer that correctly reflects the respondent's view. Okay, and there are a couple ways that, where response bias can creep into a study. The wording of a question, especially if it has some sort of leading wording, will produce some response bias. Sometimes the approach of the researcher can cause some response bias. So if the researcher in the way that they're asking question is kind of leading the respondent to a specific response, that also can cause response bias. And also the behavior of the respondent can also cause some response bias. If they're hesitant to answer some sort of question for some reason, that can also, so if that affects how they answer the question and whether or not that correctly reflects their own view, that can also cause some response bias. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple examples here. So question one. So this would be on a survey. So in our town, 25% of car accidents among 18 to 20-year-olds were alcohol related. Do you support lowering the legal drinking age to 18? Okay, and question two. Do you believe that women and men should receive the same pay rate for doing the same job? And just so that we can see that this isn't going to be an anonymous survey, let's suppose this question was asked in a focus group. Okay, so in the first question, you're going to get some response bias there. Because the researcher is leading the respondent toward the answer of no. Okay, and it's the statement that said in our town 25% of of car accidents among 18 to 20-year-olds were alcohol related. Okay, so that's a pretty negative statistic that maybe would cause people to think, yeah, maybe I shouldn't support the lowering the legal drinking age. Okay, so there would be an unrepresentative number of no answers due to the approach of the researcher and the wording of the question. Okay, so again, this would cause the answer not to correctly possibly reflect the respondent's view because of the way that thing was worded. All right, and then in the second question, okay, remember the second question was, do you believe that women and men should receive the same pay rate for doing the same job? So the respondent would be hesitant to give an answer of no because of social desirability concerns. Okay, so being opposed to gender equality is sometimes socially undesirable. So perhaps that they wouldn't give their own correct view just because they don't want to be looked at as somebody who doesn't support gender equality. So the behavior of the respondent in this case would yield an unrepresentative number of no answers. Okay, again causing response bias. So again, it's important to, when you're designing a survey, to try to structure your questions in a way where you won't get response bias, and also generally having anonymous surveys will also eliminate some of that response bias. So this has been your tutorial on response bias. Thanks for watching.